I want to turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. One of my favorite passages, verses 13 and 14 are my life verses. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth. And it's so important to get our young people to focus on, you've got a whole life to live. And it's so important you live it serving God. I was 18 years old. I was in a Christian school. And I surrendered my life to the Lord and to the ministry. And been in the ministry 45 years. My goal is to get 50 years. I'll be 75. I'm 70 now. And I'd like to be 75 and get 50 years completed. That's my goal. And with the Lord's grace and help, I'll make that. But I've always wanted to serve the Lord. And I've served Him in a lot of capacities, a lot of different jobs. At Christian school, pastoring 20, 21 years. And worked at Mel Trotter 10. I have a couple stories tonight about Mel Trotter. Worked as director of a children's ministry for many years and helped put Bible clubs in the public schools. I told you about that this morning. And that was a real joy to do that. I've built 2 ministries, 2 different times. We've built brand new ministries. And every time we built them, we went to the Bank of God and not the Bank of America. And every penny was paid without borrowing a penny from the bank. Amen. Every time. And when I mean every penny, one of our building programs we had a man who had been saving pennies for 20 years, and he had a big water cooler jar. And that thing was full of pennies. He'd been saving them for 20 years. And we took them to the bank, and there were 32,000 pennies in that jar. It took 2 men to carry it. It took 5 people to count it. So when I say every penny came in, I mean we had a $1.3 million building program, and every penny came in. We trusted God for the entire thing. And we finished with $15,000 to the good. God supplied all our need plus. And so when you take the promise, God says, I'll supply all your need. And you believe God. And you say, God, I'm going to hold you to your promise. Guess what? He keeps His promise. He keeps His promise, always. So remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, when the evil days draw nigh, when thou shalt say, have no pleasure in them. It's so important to serve the Lord while you're young. But I want to say to you, you should be serving the Lord with your gray hair now. I heard God calling you this morning. I heard God calling you. Richard came up here and he said, we have need of vacation Bible school workers, and we've had this announcement for 8 weeks, and we don't have enough. God is calling you through the voice of Richard to serve Him with your gray hair now. He should have an abundance of workers. People should say, okay, Lord, I'll help do the crafts. I'll help cook the cookies. I'll help with the kids. Okay, Lord, you need some service here, and I'm not going to be a soaking saint. I'm going to be a serving saint, and I'm volunteering. I hope after service tonight, I'm going to talk about this more at the end, that you'll say to Richard, I'm going to help in Vacation Bible School. Because we don't just serve God when we're young. We serve Him till the day we die. Amen. And so you got gray hair, you're not out of His service. You're still in His service. And you need to volunteer. Tonight He should have plenty of workers so that He can say, God is calling you. Will you answer that call? Will you answer that call tonight? Will you do that? Will you say yes to the Lord? His voice came to you this morning. I need you to serve. That's God calling you. Will you say yes to God? Not just when we're young, but till the day we die, we want to serve God. And never stop serving Him. Why? Because there's some reasons why we need to serve God now. We got some young people here tonight. I hope they're making plans to find God's will for their life and fulfill it, whatever it is. While the sun or light or moon or the stars be not darkened, or the clouds return after the rain. You have grandchildren. And in our society today, they're being brainwashed by so many isms. Humanism, atheism, communism, socialism, transgenderism. These are all evil things that are coming down to our young people, and it's having an effect on these kids. And it's so important that you teach them right, take them to church, have devotions with them, pray with them. You're not finished serving the Lord. You got gray hair, but your job is not done. There's another generation that needs you badly. And we better do it while we have the time to do it. while they're impressionable, before they get too hardened and too changed by our society. What's happening with our young people today and the choices that are being given to them in the public arena and the choices they're making, even Christian kids, is horrible. And I've had children who turned out to be homosexuals and transgender and bisexual in the Christian school. And so we have got to do something about this. You have grandkids and great-grandkids? There's your service. We've got to undo what's being done to them. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, our strength will fail. You don't have the strength you used to have. Now I'm 70 years old. And I had 5th grade kids last year in a Christian school. And they said to me, Mr. Smith, I bet you can't do a cartwheel. I said, oh yeah? Watch. And I went out and did 2 of them. They said, Mr. Smith, I bet you can't jump rope. I said, oh yeah, watch me. And I jumped rope with them. And then I went roller skating. We went and broke my foot. They said, Mr. Smith, we're going roller skating. Will you roller skate with us? I said, sure. And I roller skated with the 5th grade kids and fell and broke my foot. I don't bounce so good at 70 like I used to. But I've got the energy to keep up with these kids. And you get to the point where you have physical ailments and you can't do as much as you used to. You don't have the strength. You still have some, and there's things you still can do, and you can still help at Vacation Bible School. You can still do that. But you're going to get to the place where you shake and tremble, and you can't walk well, and we see that with people all the time. And the strong men shall bow themselves. Your backbone literally shrinks after the age of 50. You lose a little bit, an inch or so. It shrinks. I've had 2 back surgeries. I had 2 really bad car accidents where the car was totaled. Both times, and I got a steel plate in my neck out of one of them and a steel plate out of my back in the other one. But it was a blessing to get run over twice. Because as a result of the insurance company not working with me, I got a lawyer, and we had to sue them, and I got money to pay off my house. So I'm thankful I got run over, because now I'm debt-free. But the back hurts. And we'll get shaky, and our strength won't be there. We can't do what we used to do. Last summer, I carried 80-pound bags of concrete to do a project, and I paid for it. When I was younger, I could do that, and now I paid for it about 3 weeks with a bad backache. So I'll just do 40-pound bags, not 80-pound bags anymore. And the grinders will cease. When I worked at Mel Trotter, at the time I worked there, we would take in 275 men a night. Now that's in the dead of winter when the bridge people come in and the camps all come in because they don't want to freeze to death. And so at the height of the winter, when it's the coldest, we would have 275 men that would come in. We had 90 of them bunked just in one room, double bunked in one room. And the smell was horrendous. It was just awful. And they had a number of issues. A lot of them smoked crack cocaine. And that's made from battery acid and lye. And so you could tell a crack addict because the 2 top teeth and the 2 bottom teeth would be missing. Because as with all the smoking crack, the acid ate away their teeth. And so we had quite a few men with the 2 top, 2 bottom teeth gone because of smoking crack. We had a lot of men that lost their teeth because of bad hygiene, bad dental work. So every 30 minutes we'd go up to the rooms and check and make sure the men were safe and nothing going on and so forth. And one day I'm walking up there and I kick something, it scoots across the floor and I go, what is that? And I picked it up and it was a human molar and it was green as green paint. It had fallen out of the mouth of one of the men. That's how bad it was working there. It could be quite disgusting at times. And so what's going to happen, the older we get, we need a lot of dental work. And our teeth become few. The grinders cease because they are few. And those that look out the windows be darkened. We're going to lose some eyesight. I'm having all kinds of trouble with my eyes. I had to have lens replacement surgery, both eyes. And now I have a film on the back of both of my eyes that has to have laser surgery again. And so I'm having it done when I go back to Florida. And they got to go back in and work on my eyes some more. And so you're just a blur. Even with my glasses, you're just a blur. And I'm still driving, My wife, I said, I can't see. She goes, I know you can't see. You can't read the signs. I said, help me read the signs and help me with the traffic. And she does. So I'm having a little bit of a vision problem. I can read the Bible with my glasses, but the vision is a problem. And the doors be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. You're going to lose some hearing. My mom cannot hear. And when she doesn't have her hearing aids on, I'm yelling, Mom, please put in your hearing aids. You can't hear me. And some of you might have hearing issues right now. When you're young, you have all your teeth, you have your hearing, you have your vision. You've got the strength to serve the Lord. Don't wait to serve God when you're not able to because of physical ailments. It'll limit what you can do. If you're in a wheelchair, there's so much you can't do. If you're bedridden, then what are you going to do? And it happens. I had a stroke. My left side was paralyzed. Started to be paralyzed. I rushed to the hospital. And I made it. I came through good. Came through real well. Thank the Lord for that. Never know I had a stroke, except I have a slight memory issue. A little bit. And my kids would laugh at me. And if I tell the story twice in here, you'll know that's why. Because sometimes I'd repeat something. They'd say, Mr. Smith, you already told me that. And I said to the kids, now, kids, you know I have a little bit of a memory issue. So if I say something twice, tell me. And they would. They'd say, you already told us that one. Okay, all right, good. Or I'd get the wrong page number once in a while. I'd sign a page, and we did that page yesterday, Mr. Smith. Okay, thank you. Well, we get back on the right page. A little bit of a memory, a little bit of vision, lost a little bit of hearing, but I still had plenty enough to serve the Lord, and so I'm going to keep doing that. It's not going to stop me. When I had my surgeries, it didn't stop me from pastoring. I kept right on pastoring. I only missed one Sunday. When I had surgery on both of my feet, I preached with my feet up. I sat in a chair and had my feet up. I did not miss my services. I told them the grace ability is dependability, and I'm going to be there. Unless I'm dead or in the hospital, I'm going to be there. And so it's real important. But we're going to lose our physical abilities to do things. And he shall rise at the voice of a bird. How many of you don't sleep well at night? You know why? I'm in pain. I literally am in pain. A couple hours, I have to get up and take another pain pill and go back to sleep and pain again. All the pain that's associated with arthritis and the accident surgeries I've had, and it can't be helped. And so I don't sleep real well. And I miss a lot of sleep. You young people can go to sleep, right? Get up fresh and energy, ready to go, rah, rah, rah. And I got to have coffee in the morning, or I can't go at all. I got to have my, we call it Baptist beer. You know, you can't drink alcohol, but we sure drink coffee. And so I enjoy my coffee. I enjoy that a lot. But we rise because we don't sleep well. And the daughters of music shall be brought low. Again, that's a reference to hearing. We don't hear very well. Not be able to hear like we used to. You know, one night I was working at the mission, and the Grand Rapids police would come and look over our bed list, and there'd be men that were wanted. And I'd say, okay. I said, I'll show you where they're at. Let's go get them. And one night they came in. There were 5 men on the list. And they were all in the room with the 90 bunks, double bunked. And I said, okay, so 2 cops are walking behind me. I walk upstairs, and I go through the door. And they stop. And I said, well, come on, let's go get them. And they said, we're not going in there. I said, what do you mean you're not going in there? They said, we'll probably get jumped. I said, you got the gun. What do you mean you're not going in there? You got the gun. But they were afraid, and it might have happened. If to arrest one of them, they might have got jumped. And they said, well, can you help get them out? I said, oh, you want me to go in there and say, hey, wake up, you're under arrest, come follow me. Is that what you want me to tell them? No. They said, no, can you get them out one at a time? I said, all right, I'll see what I can do. So I go up to the first guy. He's sound asleep. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I shake his bed, wakes up. Hey, somebody here to see you. It's really important. He said, who is it? I didn't see their name badges. I said, I don't know who they are, but they want to talk to you. It's really important. Come on and get up. And so he got up and walked through the doors, and the cops are hiding by the doors, and put your hands in the air, and slap, slap, on go the handcuffs, and off he goes. And so I got out 1 guy, and 2 guys, and 3 guys, and I'm getting all 5 of them one at a time. And there's another man laying there by the door. He's wide awake, and he's watching me without saying a word. He sees me come in and go out, come in. So I got all 5 guys out. They took all 5 guys to jail. And in the morning, at breakfast, he says, hey, Smith. I go, yeah. He said, them 5 guys? I go, yeah. He said, you took them out? Yeah. They didn't come back. He says, do you know why? I said, yeah, but I'm not telling you why. And so there were a lot of interesting things that would happen working there. And I was also pastoring. I'd work third shift at the mission and then pastor during the daytime. And I had the energy to do that at the time. I can't do that now, but I was able to do it then. And so we want to serve the Lord while we have the strength and ability to do that before it gets to the point where we can't anymore. Verse 5, and also when they shall be afraid of that which is high. I hate heights. I am afraid of heights. I went on a roller coaster at Cedar Point. I was in the front car. And this is years ago. They have more safety equipment now. But I went over the first hill, went down and came up, and my bar came unlocked. And I came out of the seat. I was in the front seat. I came right out of the seat. I was 3 feet in the air, and the girl next to me was a little higher than I was in the air, and I knew I was going to die. And so I grabbed the bar and pulled myself back down. I grabbed her and pulled her back down, and I hung on to the sides all the way through the rest of the ride and made it. I was still alive. I got to the end. I said to the guy, I said, hey, my bar came unlocked. He said, okay, next. I have not been able to go on a roller coaster since. I'm afraid of heights. I thought I was going to die. I could see the wheels in front of the roller coaster. I could see the wheels. I was so high up in the air. I'm afraid of heights. Well, a lot of older people are afraid of falling. It can really do a person in. They can break a hip, break a bone, and never recover fully from that. And so a lot of people are, in wintertime up here, it's so easy to slip on the ice. A lot of people fall and get hurt on the ice. And so elderly people are more cautious, more careful. Young people get out of the car and take off running. Away they go, fun. But not so with older people. And fear shall be in the way. Afraid of falling, afraid of getting hurt, afraid of driving in the snow, afraid of driving at night. See, when you're young, you do all those things. It doesn't bother you at all. One time my dad had a 1966 Plymouth, and it had a 383. And that car was fast. And I was 16 years old. And I raced a lot of my friends with that car. And one night, I raced a friend of mine at a red light. And I didn't know there was a cop about 4 or 5 cars behind me. I didn't know that. And so we took off. We went so fast, he couldn't catch me. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a cop behind me. I didn't know that. And so the next night, my dad has the same car on the same road, and the same cop is on duty. And he recognizes the car. And he pulls the car over and he says, you have a teenage son? He goes, yeah. Why? He said, last night he was racing and I couldn't catch him. He was going so fast. He said, let me see your driver's license. And my dad pulled out. It was expired. And my dad got a ticket. I didn't get a ticket. He got a ticket because of me. So when he got home, I got grounded. But back in the day, we didn't worry about driving at night. Didn't bother us, and yet now it's a little harder to do. Harder to drive in snow. There's a lot of fears for elderly people. Some won't even drive at night anymore. And the almond tree shall flourish. I see a lot of almond trees in here. The almond is poetically speaking of gray hair. The almond blossoms are white. And so your beautiful white hair is an almond tree. The Bible says it's the glory of a person to be found in the way of righteousness if they have gray hair, have an almond tree. And so you have almond trees here tonight. You have beautiful gray hair. But that's what it means, the almond tree shall flourish. We lose our hair too, don't we? I mean, a bunch of us are down that road as well. Losing mine. So we lose it as well. And the desire shall fail. You may be in love, but you're not going to be romantic as you were when you were younger. So that is referring to. And the grasshopper shall be a burden. Even small things are hard to do. If you get arthritis in your hands really bad, it's hard to open a bottle. Some of those bottles of water are really tough to get. My wife has me open hers all the time. She has a hard time getting it open. Or pill box. They're child-proof. They're adult-proof sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to get them open. But things that used to be easy to do are now a burden. Like simple as a grasshopper, but now it's a burden to do those things. And so we can't do as much. So remember to do things for God while you can. But we still can. We still can do that, see. And the desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Well, we're all going to die. We know that. And there's a whole issue on healing. God heals some people he doesn't. Some people God decides it's time for them to come home. And you have to recognize the difference between those two. God doesn't heal everybody. He can. But sometimes it's our time to go home. And we pray for people. Okay, God, if it's your will to heal them. And I've seen people healed of cancer. I've seen people healed miraculously, and I've seen people die. And I've anointed them with oil. Come up before the church, anointed them with oil, and some lived and some did not. And we give it to God. We say, God, your will be done. We're not God. God makes those calls. But we are going to die. Now, verse 6 is, Ecclesiastes and Proverbs are written in poetic terms, Hebrew poetry. And this is quite poetic. Each item here is referring to a part of the body, but it's in poetic form. He says here, and the silver cord be broken. The silver cord is your spinal cord. Bible scholars have looked into this. What does this mean? The silver cord is your spinal cord. And the golden bowl is your brain. It's poetically speaking. And the pitcher be broken. Water is a source of life. We're made out of about 90% water. It's interesting because when we die and we return back to dust, as what it's going to refer to here shortly, is we have the same elements as a lump of coal. The same elements as a lump of coal. The difference is in the arrangement of the atoms. And who does that? That's God. See, he takes those same elements and arranges them, makes a human being. But when we die, we go back to the elements that are the same as a lump of coal. Or the wheel broken at the cistern, that's talking about your heart. Really, if you study this, you'll see that that's what these are referring to, are different parts of your body, but speaking in poetic terms. Your spinal's not going to be as strong. Your brain's not going to be as strong. We have people with Alzheimer's. My dad died of Alzheimer's. My wife says, I have it now. So I take memory things, turmeric, and she's taking Prevagen. And it does help my dad. When we started giving him turmeric, he was able to play cards again. In Florida, everybody plays cards. They play a game called golf. Anybody know the game of golf in Florida? Yeah, there's a few. Okay. All the old people play that game, golf. Have a lot of fun. My folks played that too. But your body's going to give out. The brain's going to die. Used to call it hardening of the arteries. That was the old day term. Today called it Alzheimer's. Same thing. The arteries get clogged, become smaller, and the brain deteriorates and dies. And then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Like I said, our body is the same elements as a lump of coal. Now, the Bible does not teach soul sleep. Your Seventh-day Advent churches teach that, and some others too, that your body stays in the ground, your soul stays in the ground, and you do soul sleep. No, to be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord. The body goes to the ground, and the soul and spirit go immediately to be with the Lord or not. Amen. One way or the other. There is no soul sleep taught in the Bible. And the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Makes it very clear. The body stays, the spirit does not. At the rapture, the body will be resurrected. And that promise, by his stripes we are healed, that is when that verse is fulfilled. When God resurrects our bodies from the grave, there'll be no more cancer and no more heart issues and no more death, and that body will be totally healed. That's when that verse is fulfilled. At that time, you'll have a brand new body like Jesus, with no sickness whatsoever. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. All is vanity. When he looked at life, there's a lot of vanity in life, but there's a lot of wonderful things. But this is written from the viewpoint of man, the book of Ecclesiastes, from the viewpoint of man looking at things. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, that would be Solomon, he still taught the people knowledge. Yet he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. He wrote proverbs as well. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which is written was upright, even words of truth. Now this is interesting because the words of the wise are as goads and nails fastened by the masters of the assemblies. The Word of God is solid truth that you can stand on, that will never crumble. It's like a nail. You say, you nailed that. You nailed it. And that's what God's truth is. It nails us, keeps us firm, and keeps us strong. And will never cause us to wander. And so it's given in the form of a nail. How you nail something, fasten it down. That's what God's truth does. That's what it keeps us grounded, keeps us strong. As nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. Moreover, by these sons be admonished, of making many books there is no end. That was my verse on my dormitory room in college. Many books, there is no end. Oh my goodness, it was so hard, wasn't it? Going to college, all the books we had to study. Wow, 4 years. And then when I got ready to graduate in the ministry, we had a test. If you didn't pass the test, you didn't graduate. It was 600 questions on the Bible. It took 5 hours to take the test. If you didn't pass the test, you didn't graduate. So you could go 4 years of seminary and still not graduate. And so we do our 4 years, and everything we could have possibly learned, and questions they asked us, stuff we didn't even learn that they expected you to know, was on that test. And so we took the test, and we're thinking, how did we do? I don't know. And all you get was an IBM card in your mailbox. You passed or failed. And I passed, thank the Lord, but it was hard. But many books there is no end, and study is a weariness of the flesh. You know, one thing I did with my kids, I didn't give them homework on the weekends. We have some teachers that give homework all the time. And I would always try to make sure they didn't have a test to fall on a Monday. Or homework on the weekend. The weekend is time to be with their families and have fun. But the teacher that I took the place of, when I went through her lesson plans, she gave them homework every single weekend and every single night. And I'm looking at her lesson plans and I'm going, this is nuts. The kids were taking home a whole backpack full of books. And so I didn't have a lot of homework. We had to study for some tests and do some things. I had them get a lot of it done in school. And then if we had a test that was going to fall on Monday, I'd say to them, kids, I want to tell you something. The test's going to fall on Monday. We'll do a review on Monday. We'll play a review game. We had a lot of fun doing that. We'll take the test on Tuesday. And they loved that. And they appreciate it. So did the parents. No reason to give homework just for the sake of giving homework, especially on a weekend. Much study is the weariness of the flesh. They need to be with their families and have fun. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and serve in VBS. I hope you will take that challenge. Do you hear God calling you? Will you say yes? After the service, you go up to Richard and say, I'm going to help in VBS. There's a need. You're not dead. You're not in a wheelchair. You're still able to function. You are able to do this. Will you say yes? Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. You're still breathing, and your duty is to keep serving God. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or bad. Now, I'm going to close with a story. In 1971, I was in college, and I was in South Carolina, and we had some nursing homes we did services for, and there was a black lady named Mrs. Collier. And in 1971, she was 103 years old, which means she was born in 1868, which means she grew up on a southern plantation. A lot of stories you hear about how terrible the South was. There were a lot of plantation owners that were good to their slaves and educated them and clothed them and took good care of them. And a number of the slaves would stay on the plantations because they were treated so well. Some were not, some were. And so she stayed. And Mrs. Collier had been walking with God a long time. And so we would go see her to encourage her, and she would encourage us. I'll never forget the first time I saw her. 103, she's in a wheelchair, and she's smoking a corncob pipe. Them Southerners, they smoke corncob pipe, and it was a corncob pipe. She's smoking. We hadn't killed her. 103, she was still alive. She didn't inhale, right? And so she said, I want to pray with you boys. Okay, great. And so I got down on one knee. I didn't know when she meant pray, she meant 45 minutes to an hour. And so when I got down on one knee, I was not in a comfortable position to pray that long. And she started praying, and then she'd sing and quote some scripture, and then she'd start praying again, and then she'd start singing again. And I'm looking at my watch. I'm going, my back is killing me. My knee is killing me. Next time I come here, I'm going to be in a different position when this lady prays. But man, could she pray. She couldn't walk. She couldn't get out in a nursing home. But she was an inspiration to every one of us. Wow. I'll never forget Mrs. Collier. You're not in a wheelchair. You're still able to function. Serve the Lord. Serve the Lord. Answer his call. Say, yes, I will serve God. Amen?